you.
Thank you so much for coming here to come and chat with me. So you are a mortgage loan originator, which means you fund loans, right? You make home loans happen, right? And in this last year, it has been pretty bonkers in the real estate world. So I thought it would be great for us to get on a quick call and talk about WTF happened in the last year in real estate. So my first question to you is, first of all, thank you. And also, what, in your opinion, happened?
So, in my opinion, we saw a lot of purchasing. We saw people buying like crazy. They decided to sell at the top of the market, and then buyers were coming in and taking advantage and buying. The rates were hella low, which was amazing. And it also did well for refinancing because a lot of people were able to drop the price. And then we'll talk a little bit about what they did with that later because a lot of them were able to capitalize on their equity. They didn't really want to move, but they were able to buy second homes and investments, which is a
Hmm.
bonus. So we'll talk about that later. But for the most part, last year, with the interest rates being low, with the market being at its peak, or I don't even know if it's a peak, but at an all time high, people were able to sell and get so much out of the money. And people were able to buy houses that were already updated, right? It was move in ready, just bring your bags. And awesome because the previous owners invested money and updating and all that stuff. So a lot of the new properties that came to the market were moving ready.
Right. It's been a pretty crazy year, definitely. It was interesting to see how that shift went from pre-pandemic, where we had inventory and it was still a pretty balanced market, to people stopped moving out of their homes, and so we kind of drained all of our inventory. And at the same time, rates dropped, and so it created, like you said, like this feeding frenzy where all of a sudden we just couldn't sustain the inventory for the amount of people that needed homes, right?
And I think that's a great point. Like when people were in their homes during like the lockdown and like in the height of the pandemic, like they looked around and they were like, I need a bigger house, like I need a bigger space, or like they were able to kind of really live in their home in a way that we hadn't in so long because we're always in and out of places and really kind of reflect and be like, I think I need a bigger space or I want to update this or whatever. And that's what kicked 2021 into high gear the way it did because I think people knew what they wanted at that point.
I would agree, definitely. For a while there, it was like a little bit of a slowdown where a lot of people that I think normally would have said, okay, well, I'm ready to upgrade and get something bigger, about grown it, I need a pool, whatever it is, said, well, maybe I'm going to stay home and just make this one work because they saw that there were so many buyers out there. But then it shifted, right? Like, uh-oh, there's very little material, there's no laborers, there's a shortage, and all of a sudden that stalled, as well as things started to get more expensive to um, to to re, uh, to rebuild or to
Right. To renovate.
renovate. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, since you do mortgages, I wonder, did you see an uptick at one point in the people that were applying for refinancing and pull out loans to, for example, renovate their homes?
150% yes.
Yeah.
The amount and it was twofold, right? They could capitalize on lowering that interest rate. So usually the rule of thumb is that at minimum you want to be able to reduce your mortgage interest rate by 1% for it to be really beneficial, right? Like you could see a hit. But if you can cut it in half, I mean, ridiculous, right? There were some
Have
people.
people that cut theirs in half?
Yes, there were people that were still rolling with like 28, 20, 2028. I can't even say 2008 because it's like now it's like 2010, 2015,
So
2021.
weird on the tongue.
So they were rolling with like '08 rates or '09 rates. You're talking seven and a half, maybe even six. And in those times, 6% was great, right? Like a 6%
What?
rate was awesome. So now in the beginning of 2021, you're talking the high twos, low threes. Like I had one client even have a 2.75 at one point. So it's like, and cash out, which is the kicker, right?
Uh,
So they were able to lower their interest rate by, let's say 1.5% to be reserved, right? And in addition to it, cash out some money and invest, right? They were able to buy a second home to vacation, or an investment that now all of the rage is the Airbnb business, right? Like they're able to
And
create this income property that doubles as a vacation home sometimes because it's in, a desirable location.
100%. I get calls daily of people asking exactly about that. How do I get into the Airbnb? What buildings are Airbnb approved? What areas are? That's definitely hot. And as I was preparing for our conversation, I did see some interesting numbers that said that the applications for investment homes and second homes almost doubled in the last year. Did you see that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because people are now trying to figure out how to make additional income or how to get into the real estate game of owning and becoming their own, bosses as a figure of speech, right? They still have their 9 to 5, or they have their business that they work in, but they're like, wow, if I could create equity and income and have different sources of income and diversify portfolios
Right.
as an investor, why not? And now a lot of people are like, well, the market, it's so high, or the prices are so high and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but it's not stopping. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be that guy or that girl that passes up on an opportunity that you can qualify for, and then have that property be worth double in 5 years and then kick yourself in the ass for it.
Exactly. So almost like the people that just started buying in the pandemic, and everyone's thinking, yeah, it's crazy. You're bidding, you're going above asking, you're going above appraisal. I mean, those people that started it in the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, now have probably a pretty good amount of equity. In fact, again, when I was looking at the numbers, the average Florida homeowner made $64,000 in equity in the last year. I mean,
That's amazing.
that's
And
not
and it's
often.
no, it's not. And as an investment or a second home, like if that's what you're looking for, what you need is 10%. 10, and obviously 10% down, you'll have mortgage insurance. There are some programs now that the lenders fold in the MI, so you're not paying MI monthly. It's like an upfront, and we can go into that in a different video, which have more in depth about financing. But there's so many programs out there that are pro investment, pro getting people into the investment game, because there aren't a lot of properties out there per se for people to live as primary homes because of the inventory shortage. But there's plenty of investments out there that could be fixer uppers, that could be income properties, like we said about Airbnb and all these things.
Right.
And having someone on your side to look them up and make sure, because I didn't know that certain areas had to be Airbnb approved.
That's right. There's ordinances all over the place now. Yeah, definitely. You
So
have
so having somebody that's well
building.
versed and that backs you up and is like, "Okay, I love your ideas, all amazing, but we can't do it in this community or in this town or in this city because some of them require 30-day rentals or 30-day lease agreements."
Correct, or more even. Yeah.
For
And or
sure.
they just outright don't allow it. They just don't allow.
No.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and
bylaws
you would be
now even.
surprised. Yeah, and you would be surprised now, even with the rates shifting in the upward, in the having an upward shift in the recent weeks, there's still people applying because rentals are shifting just along with them.
Exactly. Well, that was actually my next question for you because, I have a lot of clients that are now doing that cost analysis, right? I am paying, $2,500 a month in rent. Am I better off at this point looking into buying, right? And so, at what point are we going to see that shift where it actually is cheaper to buy than to rent? Or actually, or would you say that we're there? Are we officially there?
Oh, I think we're there.
We're
I
there.
think
Okay.
I think we have arrived. And this being said, a lot of times people that are renters that have rented their whole life, or that maybe feel that they won't qualify because they feel overextended, or they feel there a lot of that stuff is internal, right? Is an internal struggle of like, I don't make enough, I don't have enough, I don't like, and you don't know what you got until you look at it, right? A lot of people are scared to look at their bank statements. I work with clients all the time that they're just I'm scared to log into my banking or whatever. It's like they know they have enough because they make it every month, but
Right, right.
there's the extremes, right? Or there's people that have plenty, but they don't feel like it's enough to invest or enough to buy, so they don't ever try.
Or it's too
Uh,
much responsibility.
Right. And essentially, If you're renting, you're paying someone else's mortgage. You're investing, you're pouring into someone else's investment. Like you are
Literally building their portfolio, their
their
wealth.
wealth, like and it's something you could do. So what I say to you, renter that is watching that may feel that it is not the right time, it costs you nothing to get pre-approved. It costs you nothing to find out and get pre-qualified. They give you the most income. So you get to qualify on your gross income and on your net liabilities. What do all those words mean? They give you the most money. So like if you are a W-2 and you make 100,000 a year, they go off of that 100K, not the money after taxes, right? That's not what you bring home,
Right.
but you have that gross number. And the liabilities is only credit-based money. So it's to say your car payment, your credit card, a student loan, like things like that, not your AT&T bill or not your, wireless or your internet or your kid's school, like none of that stuff
Ah,
counts.
there you go. Tuition
So
doesn't count. That's a big line item. Childcare doesn't count. Another big line item.
and that's the thing, that sometimes just educating yourself a little bit, right? Like what are they looking for? What are their requirements? Credit is huge. You can buy with a 600 credit score, but now your interest rate is going to be a lot different versus a 720 credit score. So all of these things that you can be working on if you only inquire and figure out, okay, where am I and where do I need to be and what's the goal and what do I pay now and what would I pay if I bought a home. And we ran some numbers before we started recording based on a $500,000 purchase price,
Mhm.
10% down, which I think is a middle of the road. We can do as little as 3% for first time home buyers. We've seen a lot of 5% in coming in, but I'm saying not 20, not 10, or not 20, not 5. We're doing 10%,
Okay.
which is 50K to come in the door plus closing costs. At a 720 score, at today's rate for 30 years, you're looking at a $2,100 payment, principal and interest, right? And then add another $110 or so for mortgage insurance. So let's call it 2,300 to be for 2,300 bucks principal and interest, you're in.
Right.
Now, you have taxes and insurance and all the stuff that varies depending on the property if you have an association. So all of these things, it would have to be a tailored, like we'd have to look at the numbers for
Right.
you.
Right.
But that's a pretty nice, number, 500,000, a $500,000 house for 2,300 bucks a month, principal and interest.
100%. So I actually asked you to run these numbers based on a client that I am working with currently. She's a lovely person and works with children, so you know that I already love her. Um, and her rent is about to go up, if I'm not mistaken, or her lease is up. No, yes, her lease is up and she needs to move out is the issue. So we are off to the races running. She has a budget of a max of $2,300 a month, which is what we were looking into it. She only needs one bedroom, but two would be great. And this is the catch. She has three dogs that are over 50 pounds. So it's hard to find things, right? However, she's open to a lot of areas, almost anything from like Coral Gables up to the county line, right? And even up to the beaches. So we're looking into a lot of different areas. All she really needs is a little patio for the dogs, right? This is not a big ask. Do you know how many options there were for rent in
How
her
many?
budget? It's a little bit disturbing. 12. There were 12. When we actually looked into it, of those 12, three of those listings were like not real listings where they listed in a certain way. You know, realtors can be shady sometimes, unfortunately, which is why you need a good one. So they list it like it looks like a monthly rental, but it's really a weekly rental because if not, they'll get fined and whatever. So of those 12, it was really 9. We liked 3 of them. Of the 3, by the next day when we went to make our appointments, 2 of them were gone and taken. So, I mean, if you think that buying a house right now is tough, try to find a rental under $3,000, my friends, because that is like the division between like the off to the races. Like you got to be in first place in that race, right? Every time, and it's competitive.
And then offer over, right? So like now you're still paying more. You're still risking not getting it. It's like cutthroat out there. And I don't and as similar as they are, whether you're looking for a rental or looking for a purchase, like the house is yours. Like once you find it and you
Yours.
go through it, like it's your home, like you now you can do whatever you want. You can do anything and everything. You can have your 3 massive dogs. You can have all of the things you want. Nobody's going to come knocking and tell you, I'm raising the rent.
Nobody's gonna kick you out because their
None of
cousin's
it.
coming from Cuba and they need the space now, right? Like
None of it. None of it.
none
So
of those things.
really like that is
You're building your equity and your wealth such that the day that you do want to retire, you have somewhere to draw on or somewhere even to live or something to sell and cash in on, right? Or if you want to leave something for your children or build on that, right? You buy something now, in 5 years you have the equity we've just been talking about, and you get another one, and you keep going and you keep going, and that's how you build wealth.
couldn't
Not
have said it better. Couldn't have said it better. It's true. And it's that first, huh?
not renting.
No, 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 no.
I don't know of anybody. I don't personally know anybody that has real wealth that did it while renting.
Because it's hard. It's hard to get out of that cycle. And I promise you it
I think
feels
it's
scary.
because
It's scary. It feels scary, right? It feels scary,
yes,
the responsibility, especially first time home buyers, the younger adult demographic that like I remember when we bought here 8 years ago, we looked around like nobody's going to tell us what to like who's like are we the boss now? Like are we like the responsible ones? Like, are we supposed to know what we're doing? Like the real, like,
the
are we
real.
supposed to know what we're doing here? Like, it's the truth, right? And we all have that transition point in our lives when we come like from the adolescent to the college, life, then into adulthood where you get your first job and all that stuff. And then it's like, okay, that's not real life yet. Like you think you're grown, but you're not. And then you keep going through the phases and life is understood backwards, right? Like when you look back at it,
So true.
you understand it and you're like, "Ooh, yeah." And things we learned. So take it from these grandmas. No, I'm just kidding. We're not that old.
No, relax.
Now is the time to really take a look at your numbers and don't be scared of them. Knowing like knowledge is power, as cheesy as that sounds, but knowing your numbers is the powerful part. And knowing that if you are a two income household and you both have really good jobs or even good jobs that you're making it now, you're making ends meet, you're doing it, you have money saved, you have enough. Check it out. See, call Janice, let her know what area you want, then she'll hook you up with me, and then
Oh,
we'll run
Marilyn,
your numbers, and
you
then
can
we'll get
afford.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Marilyn. I really hope that this was helpful for people. I enjoyed it very much. You are a
Me
wealth of
too.
knowledge, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I love talking to you. So any chance I get to do it, I'm here.
Awesome. Well, then let's do it again for sure.
All right.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.